So I was on Spotify the other day, just like scrolling through music, and I realized that Spotify has audiobooks now. I thought that was pretty cool, and it showed me a bunch of spiritual audiobooks, probably because it knows I like spiritual things. And so one of the books that really caught my eye was the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. And it's a Buddhist book that talks a lot about the Buddhist view on life and death and suffering and peace and how we can live more intentionally in the right way, knowing that death is coming for all of us. This ominous thing, we're all gonna die. Sorry to break it to you. I hope you knew that already. But I found this book, really quite interesting and fascinating, especially because I've been listening to a lot of Duncan Trussell lately, and he talks a lot about Buddhism and how we can use its teachings to live better lives, to be better stewards of the earth, and to really understand what life is really about. For me, I'm a synthesizer. And so what I'm really passionate about is going deep and finding the truth across all of these ancient and mystical and spiritual teachings and finding the common thread that connects them all. And I believe that in the center, I will find my perfect place to live, the place where I can rest my soul knowing that I'm living in full alignment with my purpose, with my deepest realization, my most authentic being, and my gift to the world. And so far in my journey, what I've gathered in this Western way of living is that it's definitely not the answer. We currently live in a world of a lot of inversions. And when I say inversions, what I mean is that we've often been told things that are lies. And we often live in a world where the polar opposite is often what's true. It's an inversion. It's a distortion of the light, a refraction, an illusion. It's like we're living in the upside down in Stranger Things, where the darkness is some sort of parallel dimension, but it somehow weasels itself into plain sight and pretends to be the light. And from here, we can go into reptilian conspiracy theories and all kinds of rabbit holes, like how the church is supposed to be the most pure connection to God, and yet the Vatican is one of the most demonic entities on our planet. We can go into how the Western world and materialism claims to be better than the indigenous way or the Eastern way that doesn't place money over everything else in life. And yet we glorify the Western way even though it clearly looks like it's spiraling down into darkness and chaos and completely lost in its own excess. Or how we've subconsciously been programmed to think that Africa is poor and England is rich, or that white skin is more beautiful than black skin. Even in Asia, during imperial times, they believed that white skin was preferred over dark skin because in imperial times in Asia, if a woman had dark skin, it meant that she was poor. And a woman with white skin meant that she was rich enough to not have to work in the fields. These are all inversions of truth because in actuality, Africans are way more connected to nature, to God, to spirit than most English people are, period. Look at their vitality. Look at their soul. Look at their spirit. You can see it and you can feel it. People with melanin and black culture in general, they have some mana, brah. They have mana. They have spiritual energy. You can feel it. They're tapped in. And people that are farmers, people that are connected to the land, they are much more aligned with the truth than people that value money over everything. The inversion of the truth has manifested itself in our consciousness as a byproduct of colonization and indoctrination. The Western dominated world is a result of that. These English pompous assholes didn't want to leave their shitty energy in England, so they brought it over to America and they raped and pillaged and culled and genocided everyone that was brown. Everyone that had melanin, everyone that had a soul. And that toxic, patriarchal, demonic energy of rape and extortion and control and power and greed is the foundation that Western society is built upon. Our collective ego run wild. Lucifer embodied, a black hole that is so far away from love, from source, from nature, from God, that it would destroy the earth that provides it its life, and then have the audacity to say that we need to spread this colonization to Mars and to other planets. Like, we haven't done enough already to this one. Like, why do you think the aliens are just like, fuck that, brah? Y'all gotta figure out your shit before you join the Intergalactic Star Federation, brah. Like, we don't want that toxic shit over here. We've already figured it out. Y'all need to figure out your shit. Right? You know, but at the end of the day, however you want to articulate it, it's all just energy and it's all just light. It's all just source experiencing itself. It's the entire color spectrum moving from pure white light to rainbow colors to pure black darkness and everything in between. So I orient my consciousness in this reality with this framework in mind, that I'm always choosing where to attune my energy. And if we look at it through the lens of the biblical story of Lucifer, we can see a depiction of this inversion that I'm speaking of. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an expert on this subject. This is just a story that I use to better understand my reality. But essentially, the story of Lucifer is a story about the devil. It's about Satan, Lucifer, Satan, the devil. But Lucifer, as the story goes, essentially Lucifer didn't start off that way. In fact, in the biblical story, he was once an angel. And actually, the devil, the Lucifer, was the best angel. He was God's most favorite angel, the most beautiful angel, the most angelic angel, pure white light. And somewhere along the way, there was a rift that happened between Lucifer and God. And I think the way the story goes, it basically describes Lucifer as coming to the awareness that he was the most favorite angel, thus creating separation, thus creating ego, and thus creating attachment, which spiraled Lucifer out of control. And so when Lucifer became egoically attached to his status as the most favored angel, he started to become jealous of God's love to the other angels. And when God began to favor the other angels, Lucifer became spiteful. God could see that Lucifer was starting to become corrupted and impure, so God essentially punished Lucifer and cast him out of heaven. And so Lucifer, rather than having the humility to look at himself clearly and atone for his sinful behavior, Lucifer doubled down on his egoic stance and essentially fell all the way down to hell. His fall of grace can be seen as an energetic arc from the highest, most pure holy realms of white light, the angelical realms, and all the way down to pure evil, pure hatred, darkness, pain, suffering, and the hellish realms. Because Lucifer's hatred and spite towards God spiraled him all the way down to hell. But God can't hate Lucifer because God is pure love. God sees the light that's inside of Lucifer and that's deep in there, just covered by darkness. God can't hate Lucifer because Lucifer is also a child of God, a lost child, but God's child nonetheless. And Lucifer had the free will, as we all do, to choose the light or to choose the darkness. God can't choose for us. We get to choose God. Because if God chose for us, there would be no free will, and thus there would be no experience of realization. There would be no contrast. There would be no human experience as we know it. So Lucifer's fall from grace can be depicted as the energetic arc of our entire human experience. In the beginning, there was God. There was pure consciousness and pure white light for eternity. Everything and nothing simultaneously. No separation. But God wanted to experience itself. Consciousness wanted to experience itself as consciousness. So God gave birth to the world and everything in it. God created itself in form. And with form comes conscious awareness. Because now God is able to experience itself through the infinite fractal of awareness. Because now the awareness is able to be aware of itself and everything around it, thus created the illusion of separation and the realm of duality. Thus created the world of up and down, of yin and yang, of yes and no, of the sun and the moon, of white and black, of good and bad, even though these things are all just flip sides of the same coin. Behind the two is always the one, as Ram Dass says. And so this creation of separation and duality can be seen in the most dramatic way as Lucifer's fall from grace. Because Lucifer went from being an angel of pure love and white light, God consciousness, and he fell all the way down to hell, which is essentially the furthest one can possibly go from God without ever fully successfully being able to detach from God. Because thus, experiencing the greatest contrast, the most dramatic diffraction from light, thus creating polarity, duality, and the ability to experience life. So is the devil really the devil? Is Lucifer really a lost angel? Or did he all do us a favor? Did the darkness do its job perfectly as it was spoken, as it was meant to be, and did the devil get condemned and demonized for it? God probably doesn't see it that way. God probably doesn't judge the darkness. God probably loves the darkness too. And that's basically what we do in our lives, right? That's what we do when we heal. We go into the darkness, we lose ourselves, or who we thought we were, and then we learn how to love it. We learn how to alchemize it into the light, because the darkness is just a part of the light. The darkness is just an illusion of the light, because in a room full of darkness, all one needs is to light a single candle, and that darkness will instantly be brought into the light. The light shines on us every day and every moment. The sun never stops shining. Our world just spins around it. And so when day turns into night and night into day, the sun has never left you at night in the darkness. The sun can never leave you. We're just the ones that are spinning around. We're just the ones that are experiencing the contrast of life, of reality, of duality. But that sun is always there, shining. And when it's not shining on you, it's shining on the rest of the world. And that sun is always going to be shining for as long as we live in this reality. And so these inversions that we experience in this reality can often be quickly and easily healed and transmuted back into the light because they're simply inversions. They're just light being diffracted. And if we remove the veil, then they're able to return back to where they belong. Oftentimes, when we experience darkness in our life, it shows up in our internal world as fear, doubts, insecurities, feelings of unworthiness, lack, limitation, feelings like we're not enough, not lovable, etc., etc., etc. And the egoic mind creates all of these complex distortions around these traumas, creating a grand array of stories about how we can't be fixed and how we're so stuck and how we're so unworthy. And it makes us feel like it's an impossible task to get out of. Most people are just a living shell, because inside of them is really a wounded child, a hurt little girl and boy, a pure child that wanted nothing more but to be loved and didn't receive it. And so that child put walls around their heart and got really hard, calcified, stuck, blocking the energetic flow, the distortion off from source. The pain, the suffering, and the darkness manifested itself as a thread connecting every decision that that person makes in their life. It lowers their vibration, so they become more susceptible to the forces of darkness in the external world. And because the world has spiraled so deeply into darkness, like a snake biting its tail, the distortion keeps looping. And before you know it, that soul gets lost in the world of illusions and distortions and artificiality, siphoned into the machine of the matrix. Can we acknowledge that the person that we may have become from being corrupted by the world is not who we really are? It was simply a defense mechanism to protect the seed of pure light from an environment that was not conducive for its growth and its unfoldment. Can we acknowledge that a lot of the pain and suffering that we've gone through in our lives are not our fault? We didn't know any better. Our parents didn't know any better. The world didn't know any better. We just lost our way for a little while. You know, we think of ourselves as giants, as important, as these big humans with our tools and our technology. But we're just passing phenomena. You want to know what a real giant is? Look at a tree. Look at a mountain. Look at the earth, standing the test of time. I think our Divine Mother, Pachamama, the Earth Spirit, looks at us like we're really annoying children. You know, like that one annoying, rebellious kid that's just ruining the whole party for everyone. That's like humans. So ignorant, so childish. Even as adults, we're so often so childish in so many ways in our consciousness. And that's because we're living through 3 generations now of uninitiated men. Men who have not gone through the ceremonial rites of passage into manhood. So the consciousness of most men is actually an adolescent consciousness. It's the consciousness of a rebellious teenager. It's an ungrounded consciousness that's not tethered to what reality is really about, what life is really about. It's not tethered to the community, to the children, to the elders, to stewarding the land. It's not tethered to nature and the fact that nature provides us with everything that we need to survive and thrive in this world. True manhood, on the deepest level, is rooted in the center of the universe, the heart. It's about stewardship and embodying the king archetype, which brings fertility and abundance to the land and the people. It's about realizing it is our duty to support the children to become adults and to support our elders so that their wisdom can pass down to the next generation. It's about realizing our place in the community and the tribe and doing what is in the highest for the greatest good of all. And so when we bridge the gaps between our Western consciousness and Eastern spirituality and indigenous wisdom, we come to the realization that we're all in this life ceremony together, and that we can choose the path of the light. We can choose to walk towards the light in all that we do and in the way that we live our life. Because if the Tibetan Book of the Dead is true, and life really is eternal and goes on forever, then the way that we are living this life right now matters. And we should choose to live in the way that is going to perpetuate the most life-giving affirmation to the people and to the earth, and bring heaven to earth as a conscious sovereign being choosing to follow the light and not the darkness. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Journey Om podcast. If you are a conscious being, an awakened spiritual being on this planet, and you want to be a part of a community of light workers that are manifesting financial freedom and abundance together, that are co-creating this new earth together, then click the link in this episode description, and that will take you through our journey and allow you to come and work with us so that we can co-create this new earth together. Thank you so much for being here and tuning into this episode. I hope that my stream of consciousness has served you and illuminated your heart and helped remind you of why we're really here and what this life is really about. It's so grateful to share this moment with you. Thank you for sharing your time and your energy with me today. And wherever you are in the world, I just wish you all the best, all the power, and all the love to continue to, find your truth and walk this path, this heart-centered path, this conscious path that we are all walking, so that we're co-creating a better future for ourselves and for the children and the next generation to come. And I know it's not easy, we're walking in this world that is just, really spiraling into darkness in so many ways. But if we come together, as community, if we work together to bridge and anchor in this collective high frequency into the world, then we have a much better shot at changing it. And as a byproduct of that, we are also able to live in this new earth right now with our tribe, with our community, living into our highest timeline and our highest frequency. And that's the best that we can really do in this world, is to just share from our overflow and allow our divine light to inspire and awaken and lift up the divine light in others as well. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you. I will see you on the next episode. Be well. Blessings. Aloha. Peace. Namaste.